Hello, lovely friend. I am Dr. Mary Barson.
And I'm Dr. Lucy Burns.
And this is the Real Health and Weight Loss Podcast.
Good morning, gorgeous Dr. Mary, and good morning, our fabulous listeners, on what I'm hoping is a beautiful summer's day if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, and hopefully not too horrendous if you're in the Northern Hemisphere.
Yes, it's pretty sunny around here. I have to say, I am enjoying the beach. I've been going to the beach a lot with my kids and swimming in the cold Bass Strait because it's always cold here, but it's refreshingly cold. And wetsuits are good for you because it's good sun protection as well. How are you, Dr. Lucy?
Oh, yeah, I'm fabulous. I have just been away connecting with some of my, the family friends, the friends that are like family. Every year we go, in fact, near you, to our gorgeous friends who have a farm, and we go in our caravan and spend some quality time with a couple of families. So yeah, my cup is full.
Yes, it's good. It's good. I have to say, but going to the beach with my stumpy toddler and my long, elegant 10-year-old definitely fills my cup. So I'm pleased that both our cups overfloweth right now. That's really, really lovely.
Our collective cups are full.
It's good. It's good. Yes.
Absolutely. So I thought this week we would just, return to a bit of basics for our newer listeners. We're up to episode lots, and
180 something.
Yeah. So not everyone has gone back to the start. So I thought we'd just really have a little dive into the basics of what constitutes good health and why, I guess, we come up with some of our recommendations in order to improve or transform the quality, just to use a few of our words, of our health.
I love this. Basics. I think at the most basic level, it's not the only recommendation we have. It's not the only pillar of real life medicine and how you and I love to empower people to reclaim their health and to lose weight healthily. But it is an extremely important pillar, and it's food. How we nourish our bodies with the delicious food that we choose is pivotal to everything. And how we choose to nourish our bodies is with real food. And this is so important. And when you know how to choose real food, what real food is, and when you learn the mindset skills to be able to make real food easy and sustainable for you, then your health can turn around and your weight can turn around, quite quickly and easily, in a way that, it just doesn't go back again. So we wanted to go back to basics and talk about what real food is and why we recommend it, and dive into the nitty-gritty and the science a bit. So for some of you, this will be revision, but I reckon there'll still be some lovely pearls in there. And for others among you, for our new friends, this will be absolutely perfect as we all transform more in 2024.
Indeed.
So beautiful, Lucy. Do you want to start us off?
Yeah. So I guess I'd just like to set the scene around, the health of particularly Australians, but similar cultures, has taken a nosedive really in the last 30 to 40 years. The current generation is, the younger generation is unlikely to outlive the older generation, which is a frightening fact, that because up until now, our lifespan has incrementally increased, as in each generation has lived longer than the generation beforehand. And we're now faced with this situation where people, particularly around their, 40s, 50s, 60s, are developing diseases, what we call chronic diseases, so long diseases. So chronic just means long, not not severe necessarily, but long diseases. And these are things like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high blood sugars, pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease, but also includes autoimmune conditions, which are also on the rise. And so we have to think, well, what's happened? In the past, modern medicine has done things like invent antibiotics, which have been phenomenal for increasing lifespan. Uh, we are inventing medications faster than ever before. We are prescribing more than ever before. And yet, the life and even more importantly, the health span of our population is decreasing. So that's, I guess, just to set the scene that these days people in their 60s and 70s are on, what we call polypharmacy, on multiple medications. And in fact, lots of people are on several medications that are multiple medications in one pill. So that's even when you actually, it may not be the number of tablets you take, but the number of medications. So we call it polypharmacy, and that in itself is problematic. So what we're wanting to do is go, well, what has changed? What's changed in our world for this to happen? And, there's multiple things that have changed, but the number one thing that has changed is our food environment.
And this might sound all, doom and gloom and head for the hills, but it isn't, because you can reclaim the power here. You really can. And it's not as hard as it might seem. We can, divorce ourselves from the hideous experiment which has been the processed food industry by choosing real food and, and choosing to nourish our bodies with real food most of the time. As, it's no secret, I think, to most of us that industrial food processing, creating these food-like substances, has had, a strongly detrimental effect on our health as a species, as the human species, and also individually. And that there are lots, that food refining creates lots of toxins in our foods that have just been allowed to be put in there. And if we eat them in large quantities, they're really, really bad for our health, for our kids' health, for everybody's health. And we, there is something that we literally can do something about it right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, the 70s was when, I guess, the food decided, well, I mean, it started earlier than that, but it's when it really took off. And now it's, there are people that have 80 or 90% of their diet is ultra processed foods. And for us, the concept is never to blame the individual, okay? Because people are sold a myth, and this is a societal problem and not an individual's problem. The issue that we have with ultra processed food is the fact that they are harmful and that they are hyper palatable. So we are encouraged to then eat more and more. They're cheap, really cheap. This is the allure. They are so cheap. The reason they're cheap is because of some of the stuff in it. So I understand that for people, again, it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy to always eat real food, but there's a couple of things that happen when you are able to eat real food. You will find that the amount of food that you eat decreases. And that in itself can be a cost-saving measure.
Absolutely. It's not necessarily more expensive to eat real food, especially when, with a few tips and tricks and good strategies. But, I think it can be helpful just to unpack a little bit, knowing why I think can be powerful. It's easy for us to say, processed food bad, don't do it, okay? It's bad. But to actually understand a little bit why I think can be helpful, and also empowering to know that much of the damage that is done by processed foods is reversible. So, it's not like, that the damage is done, so I might as well keep eating it. But, foods like emulsifiers that are in processed foods, literally like soaps that are in ice creams and all kinds of processed foods, because it gives them a better shelf life, makes them feel nicer in our mouths. They can really upset our gut lining and give us increase our intestinal permeability, so make our guts more leaky. So the contents of our guts can actually leak into our bodies, which sets up all kinds of inflammatory cycles and is thought to be one of the contributors to autoimmune diseases. We know that, ultra processed white flour and white sugar is what a breeding ground for metabolic disease. High fructose corn syrup also, and industrial seed oils are another really big one that we talk a lot about, but I don't think many people are necessarily that aware of how detrimental they can be to our health, because they are inflammatory within themselves, and inflammation is at the root of so many chronic diseases, including many cancers and heart disease and lots of things that we want to avoid. And it really impairs the ratios of fatty acids in our bodies, which can set us up for terrible inflammation or actually good health, depending on whether or not we've got the balance right. And also, so many of these processed foods just don't have the right nutrients that we need in the right amounts, in the right ways for our bodies to function properly. I mean, that's only really just a very, very quick sort of cook's tour, that these foods, for not just being nutriently poor, they're actively harmful to our health. And we're eating them in larger quantities than ever. We've normalized them. We are feeding them to our children in extraordinary amounts. Right now, they're just everywhere. We've just had Christmas and New Year, and I have been totally unable to shield my children from the onslaught of processed foods that's been, everywhere outside of the home environment. And towards the end of school in particular, my daughter had a stomach ache every day before school, not because she was sick, but just because of parties and breakups and everything. She was just eating all of these chips and chocolates, and she was inflamed, and she was like in pain from processed food. I could just tear my hair out. She's okay. But, it's everywhere and normalised.
And the tricky thing is that there's even everyday, what people call everyday foods that are in this category as well. So I think, one of the biggest things that's probably changed is bread, the way bread is produced. I remember growing up and, bread lasted a day. You got day-old bread if you wanted it for toast. These days, bread lasts 12 days. Like, what's going on there?
Slightly frightening.
Yeah. I went to, back in the days when I used to bake, and before I really understood about insulin resistance, I went to buy what I thought was wholemeal flour. And I got it, and I realised what it is. It's just processed white flour with a bit of bran added back in. So it's not like it's any less processed than white flour. Brown flour is just white flour with the bran put back in. It's not the same as a proper old-fashioned, back in the 60s, wholemeal flour, which would have included, much more of the wheat germ and the whatever else it's called in the wheat hoo-ha.
And but these days, hard to get bread without seed oils in it as well. Like I have not been in the supermarket. I can't find bread on the occasions that I want to buy bread for whatever reason. I can't find it. I have to go to the local bakery, some artisanal bakery that has their stone ground bread, and that's the only people that will sell me bread without seed oils in it. So that aspect of things is a bit tricky. But I have said that it can be easy to eat real food, and it certainly can be, even if it's not easy to find packaged bread without seed oils. So we've talked about why processed foods are bad, 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 and why eating less of them is good, and why it's something that you definitely want to do. But what is real food? Like, bleh.
Yeah.
So
So this is my definition. When my kids open up the cupboard or the fridge and they go, "There's nothing in here to eat," my fridge is full of food. So real food is like the ingredients. What they're looking for is something that's actually already put together. So,
yep.
and this is an interesting thing to notice, because I remember there was a cookbook craze going around, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, called the 4 Ingredients Recipe Books or something. And it was recipes that you could make with 4 things. It should have been called the 4 Things Cookbook, because it wasn't ingredients. The ingredients were often processed things. So they would include, this particular brand of biscuits, mix it with this margarine and add this amount of flour and something else. And then you went into the biscuits and it had 72 ingredients in it. So it was never the 4 ingredients. It was the 4 things. So real food is like the ingredients. So it really is as close to nature as possible. Now, the interesting thing is that a lot of good food still has some processing, but it's the ultra processing of food that is the problem. So, for example, cheese, again, there's no cheese tree or a cheese. You can't just go pick some cheese out of the ground. It has to be, created. So there is some processing, but it's very simple processing, and it's not that many steps compared to, a frozen lasagna, for example, which will have, when you look at the ingredients list, you kind of, and again, I used to do this all the time because I didn't know. I would buy frozen lasagnas or pre-made lasagnas at the supermarkets thinking, oh, well, it's just food. And then when you look at the list of ingredients, you realize that it's got lots of things, emulsifiers, much higher levels of sugar, much higher levels of salt. And whilst we're not opposed to salt at Real Life Medicine, if you're eating low carb, if you're not eating low carb, then extra salt is not that helpful for you. But yeah, then preservatives that, so that again, a pre-made lasagna will last 3 weeks, whereas if you make lasagna at home, it doesn't last 3 weeks.
That's right. Yes, I like as close as possible to its natural state. That's real food. It is. It's the ingredients, the single ingredients. It's the things around the outside of the supermarket. It's your veggies, your fruit, your nuts, your seeds, your fish, your seafood, your eggs, your meat. It's the things as close as possible as it was, milked from the cow, minimally processed in the case of cheese and yogurt, or, taken from the plant, taken from the animal. And that's it. And it's simple. And it doesn't actually, it actually can be extremely easy to take these delicious ingredients with small amounts of effort. You can cook them up and turn them into your delicious, tasty meals. I can see where your lovely adult children are coming from. They open up the fridge and, they just see the ingredients, and there isn't an immediate meal there, immediately there for them to grab. But, in 4 minutes, there could be, grab a pan or a microwave. There definitely could be. And certainly the way that I live my life with batch cooking and things, there's always cooked food in there ready to go. So yes, this is real food. And when you eat real food, your health improves. Like every single facet of your health improves. It improves brain health, bone health, gut health, skin health, eye health. Absolutely every aspect of your health improves, including, happily, but certainly I would argue not most importantly, but happily, your weight.
Yeah, absolutely. It improves your metabolic health and your mental health. Mood and food are intrinsically linked as well. And again, it doesn't mean that you have to be out there plucking your own spinach from the garden. If you don't have a garden, you can go and buy it. That's fine. Um, and frozen vegetables are also fine. We don't
Love
need to,
frozen veggies.
yeah, they're easy. They're easy because again, we want to be making it easy. One of our biggest things that make easy for us is using a pre-made spice mix. We use one by Mingle Seasoning, but again, depending on which country you live in, but you've got to be careful because a lot of those pre-packaged spice mixes or pre-packaged sauces, they promise flavor and ease. They don't tell you that it comes with a hefty dose of preservatives and disease. So
That's right.
what but if you can find, again, those flavor sachets for us are just dehydrated spices. They're easy. They're real food. Again, it doesn't.
So easy.
We just want to make it as easy and tasty as possible, and it doesn't have to be hard. But again, there's tricky things out there, and this is where the processed food companies, and my biggest bugbear is processed food companies meet Dietland, and they've invented the diet shake. So the diet shake seemingly promises you ease and weight loss in a can or a jar or a scoop. And honestly, it's so far from the truth, and it drives me nuts. Can you walk us through, Dr. Mary, why things like shakes are just not the answer, even though those companies would love us to believe that they are?
Yeah. So, problem with weight loss shakes. There are a few. So, most of these weight loss shakes, they're made with highly processed ingredients. Many of them contain a lot of those deleterious processed ingredients that I was just talking about, including seed oils, including emulsifiers, the things that can actually that are detrimental to our health. The main thing that they are is low in calories. So people have them and they eat them or drink them instead of having a meal, and it puts you into a calorie deficit. And it is the calorie deficit that results in short-term weight loss. The weight loss is short term, and we will certainly talk about this again. We've talked about this in the past, why calorie deficit, calorie restriction is not a great long-term strategy, why it results in yo-yo dieting, putting all the weight back on, and only results in short-term weight loss. So in short, they do not treat the root cause of the problem. The root cause of being overweight is metabolic ill health or metabolic imbalance, specifically your metabolic hormones being imbalanced. And shakes do not treat the cause of that. And in fact, depending what's in the shakes, they can actually make it worse. They can increase inflammation depending on what's in them. They can increase poor health outcomes depending what's in them. And they do not treat the actual cause of what's going on. And so they do not allow for that root cause healing of metabolic health problems. So at best, they are only a short-term solution, and at worst, they actually make things worse. Whereas with real food, you can actually heal the root cause of what is making you overweight in the first place, while also nourishing every single cell in your body and also healing a myriad of other issues that are going on in your body, and basically healing and nourishing every single aspect of your body and brain and mental health with real food. So it is a much better way to go, and it's delicious and nourishing, and it can be really easy. I make most of my meals easily in less than 15 minutes, many of them in under 10. They're yummy, they're tasty, and it's a fabulous lifestyle.
Yeah, I think once you get again, it's unlearning a lot of things. We've learnt, we've been conditioned, we've been advertised to, we've been marketed to. When we unlearn some of those thought processes, then eating real food becomes easy. The trick that processed food companies play on us is convenience. Like, that's their selling point. Eat this, it's convenient, it's quick, it's easy. And humans, we why wouldn't we go for that? I mean, really, if you've got a choice, do something that's hard or do something that's easy, we're going to do something that's easy. However, that comes with a cost, and the cost is down the track to our health, and being unwell is not easy. Being unwell is really hard. It's time consuming. It's really expensive. And what it does is it steals the joy of your life in your later years. So for people that have worked hard all their life, they're ready to retire, they're ready to travel around the country, they're ready to play with grandchildren, and then they're just taking, 16 pills and spending half the time going to doctors and getting, all sorts of things. It blows my mind. Again, not at an individual level, but at a societal level, that we allow this to happen, because it's wrong. It's actually wrong for our society to have this, to steal the health of our older Australians. That's
Yes.
my rant.
And real food is delicious. It's satisfying. It's the most powerful medicine out there for good. And honestly, I know I keep saying it, but it really is easy when you know how. And gorgeous people, if you'd like a little bit of if you want to get some more information and, a little boost in the right direction, then you could have a look at our website and have a look at our 4-week body rebalance. We've got a self-paced program that you could check out as well, which has got lots of stuff, meal plans, fabulous little bite-sized episodes with Lucy and I, wonderful hypnoses, everything you need to get started with real food. You can check that out, rlmedicine.com/4WBR, and the link will be in the show notes as well. Lucy, tell us what was tell us your most recent real food meal, easy real food meal that you've made.
Oh, last night. So again, last night, this was not fancy, and it's not. I went to my fridge there was not much in it. I have a meat subscription, so there's always some protein. And it just arrives, because I'm trying to make it easy. If any barriers that come in, so the meat was in there, it's arrived, it's in a vacuum pack. So I have a look, I go, I've got a protein. I haven't got any veggies. I've got none. Ooh, that's a bit lame. Open the freezer. There's some mixed veggies. How do I make them a bit tastier? Because honestly, microwaved vegetables are not very nice. Well, I don't think. So the key for me is you don't overcook them. Cook them without a lid on, so that if there's any frozen-y, watery bits in there, that gets sort of, steamed off, because nobody wants soggy veggies. I added a little bit of salt and about 3 slices of cheese in it. And basically I made like a cheesy vegetable mush that was blooming delicious with some lamb chops, done in the air fryer.
Yum.
So that all took, 11 minutes.
Amazing. That sounds great.
What did you have?
Last night, I made a chicken curry. So I made a green Thai chicken curry. It was pretty quick. I had some chopped frozen onions in the freezer. Love that. Some little jar of chopped minced garlic, because I love garlic. That was all ready to go. That was quick and easy. I very quickly chopped up a broccoli and a zucchini, snipped my chicken breast with kitchen scissors, a packet of, again, we're talking about mingle seasoning. It is just very handy, green curry mingle seasoning, and a can of coconut milk. And I felt like it needed a little bit of sweetness, so I put a little bit of monk fruit extract in there, Canto, brown sugar, monk fruit, and a bit of salt and some lemon juice. And just had it simmering for a while. So in terms of like how much I just bunked it all in there at once. Didn't bother browning the meat and stuff because, you know, I'm busy. I had a toddler running around trying
And
to eat
honestly,
Christmas preparations while I was
you don't
doing
need
that.
to. Yeah, you don't need to.
Yeah, as you know, would have made it slightly better, maybe, or not even. I don't know.
No,
yeah, I had
I've
to
done a
stop my baby
test.
from eating
I've done
the
an
Christmas
experiment.
decorations.
I've done an
It's
experiment.
what
It makes no
yeah.
difference. Nah,
Yeah, awesome.
nah.
Yeah, and so it just simmered for a while. I don't even know how long. I don't know, 20 minutes or something. And yeah, it was lovely. It was really, really yummy. It was great. So easy. It was delicious. And yeah, kids ate it, which was always a bonus. Even, you know, the baby ate it. So he doesn't know any better. He doesn't know that, you know, yeah, he hasn't got to the fussy stage yet of not eating spicy food. So that's good. And yeah, amazing. It's delicious. I'm going to have some for lunch. It's amazing.
Wonderful. All right, lovelies. Well, again, keep at it. Just focus on the real food. Pick your protein, add some veggies, a little bit of fat if the protein's lean, add a bit of flavour. It makes life so easy. You just follow that formula and you'll be right. We'll talk soon.
See you later, beautiful ones. Bye.
The information shared on the Real Health and Weight Loss podcast, including show notes and links, provides general information only. It is not a substitute, nor is it intended to provide individualised medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor can it be construed as such. Please consult your doctor for any medical concerns.